Alright, some concluding thoughts. I have one more outrageous thing to say, but it's the mother of them all, so buckle up. If Joe Biden really does end up being the nominee, there might come a point where we need to give serious consideration to voting for Trump. Oh my god, that's outrageous. What it is ruthless. I mean, I don't want to do it. I've never voted for a Republican, and I'd rather not start now. But if that's what has to happen, if that's what our decider decides, then I will do it, even in California. We don't need to make a decision right now. If we force Biden out and Bernie in, then we can just vote for Bernie in the general election. I mean, the most ruthless thing would actually be to commit to voting for Trump now, but I decided not to say that because, one, I don't want to vote for him, and two, I think it's a tough sell to lead with, you gotta vote for Trump. It's one thing to not vote for Biden. It's a whole other thing to tell people on the left to vote for Trump. But the Democratic Party gave us the finger again, and our country is in an unprecedented crisis that Joe Biden is not equipped to deal with, mentally, or from a policy standpoint. Without our votes, it's going to be tough for Biden to win. But if you add our votes to Trump's total, Biden's definitely not going to win. It's like every vote would count twice. But don't tell the Republicans that. They worry so much about voter fraud. I'll say it again. It's damaging enough if a large percentage of the Democratic electorate is just not going to vote for the Democratic nominee. But maybe we're also going to inflate the numbers of the Republican. It's a tool in the toolbox. And we all know that Donald Trump is a massive tool. On the off chance that the real Joe Biden ever sees this, I have a message for him. You don't have to do this, Joe. You can drop out right now, and we'll forget this ever happened. History will remember you as the guy who stood off to the side and smiled lovingly while Obama was president. History won't have to remember you as the guy who got us all nuked, because he couldn't remember which country he was in or what year it was. What happened to you, Joe? You used to be so clean and articulate. Are you aware that you're in rapid cognitive decline? Maybe you don't know, because when you're lucid, you think you're fine. Lots of people have put together montages of you displaying symptoms. You should watch one sometime. And then drop out. You're being irresponsible, staying in the race in your condition, jeopardizing America's chance to vote Donald Trump out of office. You are not mentally fit to serve. You're not even fit to campaign. You're also a despicable person. The way you treat people is atrocious. In some cases, it's even criminal. You're also out of touch with what voters want because you're a Republican and you're being paid campaign contributions to ignore the will of the people. Your record as a legislator, vice president, and human being is a giant middle finger to this country, to the Middle East, and to Latin America. If you actually cared about this country, you would drop out immediately and go away. Enjoy your retirement in Delaware, and thank Jesus or whatever every day that you're not in prison for war crimes, crimes against humanity, and sex crimes. If we're so inconsequential on the left, if you think you don't need our votes, then cut Bernie loose. I fucking dare you. Stop asking him to campaign for you. Stop asking him to deliver his supporters to you. No one wants to vote for you. No one wants you to be president, and you are unfit to serve. Just go away. In case the actual Bernie Sanders sees this, dude, you gotta pull yourself together, because it turns out you're still running for president. It's clear now that at least for this go-around, you were never really serious about winning. It was wrong of you to ask people who don't have much money to begin with to fork over their hard-earned dollars to finance your vanity campaign. Nobody paid you to walk away during a crisis. Nobody paid you to become Joe Biden's lapdog. The least you can do is give everyone a refund. And then grow a pair. Fight for the presidency. Fight for the people of this country. All you have to do is send one tweet containing 5 words, "Don't vote for Joe Biden," and you become the 46th president of the United States. But we both know you're not going to do that, because you're a pussy. You call us irresponsible because we don't want to vote for your friend Joe Biden. You know what's irresponsible? Endorsing a guy for president who's losing his goddamn mind. You know what else is irresponsible? The United States of America not having universal health care during a pandemic. Here's one more thing that's irresponsible. You telling your supporters to vote for someone who explicitly stated that he would veto your universal health care bill if it came across his desk. You don't really care about any of us. You don't care about the agenda of the left. You've got everybody thinking you're one of the good guys because you talk the talk. But when it comes time to actually do something, you side with the Democrats. You're just as cruel, just as corporate friendly, and just as weak. But hey, you can prove me wrong. For the first time in your very long life, use your power to do the right thing for this shithole of a country and the people in it. One tweet, 5 words. That's all you have to do, and Biden's done. Word on the street is that your greatest fear in life is becoming the next Ralph Nader. I hate to break it to you, but that's already happened. You're definitely blamed for what happened 4 years ago. You're already being blamed preemptively for Biden's eventual loss this fall. And if we don't vote for him, he will lose. You have a decision to make about who matters more, your friend Joe, the senile rapist, or everyone else. And to all you fuckers out there with progressive talk shows, YouTube channels, podcasts, websites, Twitter accounts, tell your audience, do not vote for Joe Biden today and every day until November 4th. You have far greater resources than most of us, but you're not doing your part. You spent the last 4 years bitching about Donald Trump, bitching about Democrats, bitching about Republicans, and you never came up with a plan. You got complacent and assumed that the Democrats would just let us take over their party. And when they didn't, you had no answer. Except, well, we can't have 4 more years of Trump, so you let everyone down. Unless your allegiance is not to the left, but rather to the Democratic Party. Perhaps you're just functioning as the progressive arm of the Democratic propaganda machine. You're not actually at war with MSNBC and the New York Times. You're just an alternate destination for a different segment of the Democratic electorate. But the job is the same, to get people to vote for establishment Democrats. The signs were there. On the evening of March 10th, I was flipping around among TYT, Majority Report, and David Pakman. They were all live streaming the results from Super Tuesday Part 2. I was curious how they were all going to spin Bernie's inevitable losses. Everyone in progressive media had been reluctant to criticize Bernie and his campaign up to that point. I assumed they would all remain delusionally optimistic about his chances at the nomination. But that's not what happened. At the Majority Report, they were just kind of despondent, and they were talking about Bernie getting concessions from Biden. But at TYT and David Pakman, it was a complete capitulation. I was shocked that they were giving up. I wasn't surprised that Bernie had given up. He never cared that much about winning. But the people with the YouTube shows always seemed much more invested. 1 week earlier, the original Super Tuesday, Cenk Uygur had done one of his epic rants on the TYT livestream. He was furious at the Democrats for doing the coalescence, and he was like, from now on, this is trench warfare. I thought that meant he was going to do something to turn things around for Bernie. But a week went by, and nothing happened. The progressive media had no answer. The Bernie campaign had nothing left. It was just over. On the March 10th live stream, Cenk interviewed Crystal Ball. She said she wasn't going to vote for Biden, and Cenk shook his head like a disappointed dad and did the routine. But we can't have 4 more years of Trump. He's so bad. And then Crystal explained why it's a huge mistake for all of us on the left to keep giving up our leverage by voting for whatever terrible candidates the Democrats give us. She made a lot of the same points that I've made, but she was much classier about it. The interview was posted the next day as a standalone video called Crystal Ball, Vote Blue No Matter Who is a Con. I highly recommend watching it. Historians will study it one day, because you watch in real time as Cenk Uygur goes from being a Bernie supporter to crawling inside of Joe Biden's butt. Crystal and Anna Kasparian try to reason with Cenk, but he just doesn't want to hear it. David Pakman made that same journey that evening, and pretty much all the other luminaries on the left have done the same, whether it's saying outright, vote for Biden because Trump bad, or the wussy passive version, I can't tell you who to vote for, that wouldn't be right, but Trump bad, you know what you have to do. They just started falling in line, like all the normie Democrats did after Obama told them to. But what's really sad, maybe even scary, is that Obama didn't have to tell anyone on the left. They all knew what they needed to do. He didn't have to call up David Pakman and say, listen son, the party needs you right now. There will be time later to talk about some of your progressive ideas. I think they're great. But first we need to deal with the problem that's right in front of us. And that problem is Trump bad. Obama had to work way harder to get the other candidates to drop out. But the left just rolled over in exchange for nothing. Well, actually, we get to tell ourselves that we're selflessly doing harm reduction, even though we're not. Joe Biden is an asshole. And we're getting all the strides made by the bullshit task forces, those incremental improvements that definitely will not happen. Regardless of the outcome of this year's election, all the people in the progressive media are going to spend the next 2 years bitching about the weakness of the Democrats and the meanness of the Republicans. And then in 2 years, when the midterms come up, they're all going to say, okay guys, time to vote for Democrats, Republicans are bad. And then they'll spend the next 2 years bitching about Republicans and Democrats. And when the presidential election comes up in 2024, they will all say, you have to vote for the Democrat because the Republican is so bad. This just isn't the right time to challenge the Democratic establishment. And then the process will repeat for another 4 years. We keep getting jerked back and forth between despising the Democrats and being told we have to vote for them or America will be destroyed by the Republicans. Progressive media is not an alternative to the Democratic machine. It's just a different destination for all of us on the left who don't like the Democratic establishment. So Sam Cedar and Cenk Uygur and all those other Democratic apologists put out their arms and say, come on over into our warm embrace. We're just as mad at the Democrats as you are. They're so conservative. They're so corrupt. They're out of touch with what the people want. We're going to reform the party from within, one primary race at a time. And 200 years from now, the party will be ours. And while they have their arms around us, they scoot us to the right and deliver us to the party, election after election. This has to stop. So if you are one of those people in a position to influence others with your progressive talk show or publication or social media accounts, you need to pick a side right now. It's either the left or the Democratic Party. There's no doing both. See Bernie Sanders and the squad if you don't believe me. If the party is what matters most to you, then admit it and stop wasting everybody's time. If the left is more important, then get to work. We don't have a lot of time. That's my fault. Oh wait, it's also yours, because you just wasted the last 5 months telling everyone to vote for a senile Republican. And if you're one of those people who's like, I can't tell you who to vote for, that wouldn't be right, I don't want to fucking hear it. I don't want to hear people like Kyle Kulinski say things like, I'm just telling you what my standards are, how Biden and Trump don't meet those standards, so I can't vote for one of them, and this is what I'm going to do. That's a lot different than proselytizing and evangelizing and me saying, I'm not voting for Biden and you shouldn't either. I'm not saying that. I don't care what you do. If Kyle doesn't care what people do, then what's the point? Why have a show? Why put videos on YouTube? Why get all those suits from Douches R Us? I mean, there are more lucrative ways to earn a living than progressive talk show host, so he must care about the left. He had no problem ordering his audience to vote for Bernie in the primaries. In fact, every single progressive YouTube channel that I'm familiar with did the same thing. Vote for Bernie, canvass for him, phone bank for him, give him money. But now it wouldn't be right to order your audience not to vote for Joe Biden? All of that machinery needs to be converted into forcing Joe Biden out of the race for the good of the country. If you're in progressive media, you need to start telling your audience that they deserve better. Stop patronizing and disparaging everyone with the harm reduction and incrementalist bullshit that we all know Joe Biden won't deliver. Now, I came very close to not doing this at all. Maybe I waited so long it's too late. But it occurred to me that I would regret not saying anything at all. And everyone on the left who votes for Joe Biden is going to regret that too. If Trump wins, obviously you're going to wish there had been some other option. But even if Biden wins, you'll discover that the bullshit task forces didn't have any influence on him. There's not going to be harm reduction. There's not going to be incrementalism. Nothing will fundamentally change. And the left will go to sleep. Because that's what we do when Democrats are in charge. We're not going to hold Biden accountable. We're not going to have a seat at the table. There won't be a revolution or a movement. And 4 years from now, we will be told by the Democrats and our own people that we have to vote for Biden again. Because the Republican nominee is so horrible, we have no other choice. And 4 years after that, we will be told the same thing. Because there's always going to be another horrible Republican. They're all horrible. So I want you to pick a number, a multiple of 4, that you are willing to wait before the executive branch starts doing the right thing for this country. Pause the video. Pause it. Pick your number. Is it 8? 8 years of Biden, and then we'll make something happen on the left? You know, the vice president is often the heir apparent. It doesn't always work out that way, but we could be staring down the barrel of 8 years of Biden and then 8 years of Kamala Harris. That's 16 years gone. Because we've let the Democrats and progressives brainwash us into thinking that Republicans are the problem and Democrats are the solution. They're not. If there's a voice in your head that's been telling you, you know, you've been voting for Democrats forever and you don't have much to show for it, listen to that voice. Don't listen to the transmission from Obama telling you that Biden's the electable one. And don't listen to the Democrats and the progressive media who are telling you you have to vote for Biden. You don't deserve anything better. You have no other choice because Trump. Don't listen to them. Listen to that little voice in your head. This whole blindly voting for Democrats thing is not working. We get stuck supporting horrible candidates and their horrible policies with our votes in exchange for nothing. In the words of Cenk Uygur, circa 2008, I'd rather play offense. I'd rather talk about how inspirational and hopeful and terrific our candidate is, and honestly, how theirs isn't. It should be the Republicans playing defense this time around. Let's make them. Let's vote for the guy that history has brought us. We have a chance to pick a once-in-a-lifetime, inspirational, transformational candidate. Are we really going to pass that up? Cenk was talking about Obama, which is insane. But because of our tendency on the left to say the loud parts quiet, we always end up with nothing. That has to stop. Do not vote for Joe Biden. We are all not voting for him, and he will lose because of that. He needs to drop out. We deserve better. And if we play this right, we can get our way. But we have to speak up now. Hashtag mic drop.